Hey everybody! My name is Why Not, and today we're going to be designing a brand new character from scratch. The only idea I had in mind for this was that I wanted him to be explosive. The first thing I have to do when blocking out a brand new character, of course, is to get a good shape going. I know I want his head to be a bomb, and I knew that I wanted him to be a stick of dynamite in the middle. As for posing, I wanted to go with something that really reflected an explosive and chaotic personality. Something with his chest popped out for everyone to see as he stands there waiting for you to make a move. I always block out with a good set of bones before I actually do anything. But we don't really need to know all that, so we're just going to skip ahead to when I've added a bit more detail to these bones. I take great care in all of my curvature, especially with things like this fuse. I still hadn't decided on a nose quite yet, but I figured I would go with a classic evil pointy nose, sort of like a bird beak. For hands, I decided it would be neat if he had sort of robotic claws, like a tiny little piece of machinery. From this point onwards, things went relatively smooth and easy to follow. Just a series of shapes being blocked out here, as I finally finish roughing out the insides. I still wonder if it was a good idea to add in a second fuse down at the base of his body, sort of like a tail, but to be honest, I absolutely love the look of it. His arms and legs got to remain nice and simple and sleek, sort of like big fat noodles. He doesn't need a lot of detail down there. The main part you're supposed to be drawn to is his face and his body. Now that we finally got everything roughed out, I can finally start erasing the bones and finish with the top layer. I want to give these claws a bit of depth, so I try my absolute hardest to make sure they're positioned correctly, how they would be if he was actually standing in front of you. For his feet, rather than the blocks I blocked him out with to keep a sort of level of geometry and space, I decided he needed to have some nice cowboy boots. It was at this moment that I decided that our little friend here is going to be Spanish. Finally, we can add in the official TNT writing on the front. Erase any unnecessary crossing lines. And adjust the head as necessary. Finally, we get to the coloring part. I always like to go with a nice base. Whatever I start with is whatever I start with. No real rhyme or reason to it, but I knew I wanted his head to be a charcoal gray, like an actual spherical bomb. So that's what ended up being the base of his skin. Afterwards, I'll go over with a nice masking layer, and color in everything with a nice base shade of red, gray, and beige. His eyes were something I would cover later on. I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep them red or not. He needed some more detail, so I decided to add some color to his arms and legs. And just for fun, let's add a classic criminal mustache, nice and curly. Finally, it was time to color in the eyes. I tested a variety of colors before finally landing on a purple and red. I felt it made him stand out a bit. As a last-minute decision to my piece, I decided he needed to look absolutely psychotic, with alternating colors of purple and red. Finally, it's time to add some depth to the piece, so we'll add in a good bit of shadow. I know I want his back to be lit up, so we're going to put most of the shadow on the very front. Now, I am by no means a professional. I mainly wing it every time I add stuff like shadow and highlights, but I like to think this came out well. A good bit of shadow will add a great deal of depth and character to whatever you're drawing. It'll make it feel like it's in an actual scene. A nice dark circle around his face really makes him stand out and look a bit more crazy. And as you can see, I'm having a great deal of trouble deciding where the shadow on the fuse should go. But I eventually find my way. Some test spots here and there, and it's finally time to add in a background. I always place all of my things in a nice blue void, like where I exist, but I wanted him to have a bit more going on. Like I said, I wanted his back to be lit up, and it only makes sense that there's a massive explosion happening right behind him. As we wrap up here today, I want to say thank you so much for propelling me beyond 50 subscribers, and I just want to thank you for being here in general. I've got a lot of projects I'm trying to line up right now, and the fact that you guys are watching just means the world to me. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the algorithm I'm doing good things. And as always, I hope you're entertained. Good night, everybody.
Running outro.exe